So we can start with whatever matchup.
So if you look at my profile, and I don't know if you can look at the race stats, but
oh my goodness,
you can see
14% against Terran.
Yep. So that's pretty much horrible right now. And I pretty much lose against the same matchup every time, which is some kind of all-in bio, and so I never try to. Well, I don't try much to cheese because when I got gold last season, I did a 13 pull build and got pretty a lot of wins with that. But no, I tried to get ahead economically, and that's what I'm focusing on right now. But I always die to those all-ins with Marauders and Marines. And so when I spot it's an all-in, I try to mass some Zerglings and mostly Roaches. But those Marauders just tear me apart. And I don't really play Banelings that much because I'm not really good at microing them. So that's one of the things I may want to work on. I don't know.
Cool. Well, let's crack one open and take a look at it. Usually it's mostly the fundamental skill of being able to grow over time and make tons of stuff and have a well-rounded approach to hitting 200 supply as fast as you can. Because a lot of times people will say, I'm losing to these all-ins, but sometimes they're even behind the opponent economically. And
yeah, that's one of the things I noticed. Like, I feel like I'm ahead, but when I look at the replays, I am behind. And I never really know how that happened. Like, I'm supposed to make drones faster, and I don't know. I just feel like I'm ahead during the game, but during the replay, I look at their economy with the mules, and I'm way behind or just equal. So, yeah.
So load them up. So you go replay, click one, and then watch with others.
Yep. And obviously we're gonna watch this and it's gonna be hurting myself seeing all my mistakes, but I'll try not to cringe.
So for this one it's fine, but for the next one you can right click me in that lobby and give me lobby host, and then I can pause and speed up and slow down and stuff.
Do you want me to remake or?
No, you could just put it at 2x. I think it'll be fine.
Okay.
Cool. So the first thing to figure out is your Overlord Pathing. So your first one, usually I put it here on this map, just to see their second base and if they're moving out.
So one of the things I've been doing was sending some Overlords here, because I've been cheesed a lot by barracks and Marines all into it.
Yeah, a lot of times I'll send the second Overlord over and then up, if you're worried about that.
There, okay.
So ZVT. First Overlord outside, enemy natural. Second Overlord L path to C proxy, then toward Terran main base. Okay, so you have 19 Overlord, Ling speed, and then so you.
Is that where you would send the Overlord?
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so after 19 Overlord, 2 Queens and 4 Lings. The 4 Lings are really important for being safe against the first Reaper. In this scenario, they're not. Oh, they are sending a Reaper. Yeah, it really sets you off balance. You have to micro your drones, and it's a big pain in the ass. So having those first 4 Lings and then usually keeping them at your ramp. Because most maps the Reapers can choose if they want to jump into your main or harass your natural. So if your Lings are in the middle, then they can defend either side.
Okay.
Okay, so the Lings are at the ramp to prep for the Reaper. And then I would say one of the most important things for a really clean early game is hitting your 30 to 31 Overlord on time. Part of the reason that is missed a lot is because the Reaper is distracting you. So it's shooting your stuff, you're trying to micro and stay alive, and then your supply blocked, and it messes up everything else for the rest of the game.
Okay.
So go. Where did the Reaper go?
It's here. It's not moving.
That's nice of them.
So I got 2 Zerglings going away. But not that away.
Okay, so the next step, pause here.
Okay.
Next step is 2 more queens. And then
production right now.
330 third base. So that's around when Ling speed finishes. The third base for Zerg is super important because for 1, it's our production, and for 2, our bases are cheaper than the opponent. So if you're not planning to cheese with 1 to 2 bases, then the third base needs to go down basically as early as you can secure it without impacting your economy. So the Ling speed upgrade is mainly used to escort the drone out there. Your 4 Lings can beat this Reaper off creep if they have Ling speed, but if they don't, the Reaper can kite them and shoot them, it can kill the drone, and it's just really bad. But taking your third here at 330 means you unlock another base that you can mine from, and you can make queens from. And it's queens and drones that you use to power up into a macro game.
Okay. One of the things though with the third and fourth, I seem to have a hard time defending them. So that's one of the reasons I keep trying to saturate the main and the natural first. And I tend not to expand on 3:30 or 4 minutes because it's hard to defend. So maybe we should keep in mind that I need some strategy to do that.
Yeah, well, the flip side is a hatchery is a really beefy target, and a player doesn't really have the firepower to gun that down faster than you could make units. So you have Ling speed, which means you have an upgrade for some units that you could make at a moment's notice if you needed to. You have enough money for a third base right now because you've been droning well, and you have some queens. So let's say you made another queen in the main, you would have 4 queens to help defend your third and spread some creep out to it, and then you would be able to make a bunch of Lings if you needed to as well. And in the notes, I'm typing out the Overlord timings for you. So you'll basically have a really nice streamlined progression of making drones and queens as fast as you can, which makes you really solid in your defense. It's not something that's not really feasible. I would say that would be the biggest factor for getting you from silver to diamond, which would be understanding how the third base fits into the grand scheme of being a Zerg player. Because as Zerg, our key advantage is we can hit 200 supply faster than the enemy. And the third base early is really the main step that allows that to happen. And queens are our versatile defense that give us the creep spread we need, and they have tons of HP as well to be really sturdy, and they can shoot air. So that's like the all-around way to get that 3 base economy up and running.
Okay.
Go. One thing I would recommend to practice that is have an empty custom game. I do this at the beginning of my stream. I don't know if you've seen it. The first game of the day, I'm in a game with no opponent, and I'm just trying to do my build and hit 200 supply. I think that helps a lot with learning a new thing because, like you're saying, it is hard to defend bases, and opponents come at you with all different kinds of attacks. And a lot of times players will never give themselves the chance to practice their max out in a laboratory setting where they're not being attacked by stuff, just so they would know what that would look like. So you could practice taking your third and saturating that, injecting that. You can practice spreading creep around it. And then when you get into the game, those steps are a lot more internalized for you. It's kind of second nature of when you're taking your third base, how you're creeping the maps, how you're droning your bases, and that kind of thing, as opposed to trying to do all of that and defend pressure, defend Reaper, defend Hellions, scout and harass and whatnot. There's just tons of stuff to worry about. But this Ling attack that you've done is really nice. One thing as a general reminder whenever you're harassing, this isn't specific to your build, when harassing, make drones and overlords.
Right, so am I producing any unit right now? No. Okay. I started making roaches, but so as you see, this happens to me a lot. I have like 2k minerals floating right now. And now I can identify that this is pretty much an all-in build, or just a one base and late second base build. So I start panicking and seeing I have to build units a lot because the push is going to be coming soon. But then, yeah, I can't make expensive units yet, I think. Because one of the issues I have is I'm not picking up a lot. So I have roaches and lings I can make right now. We'll see how it goes. I don't remember.
If you want a really safe progression where you have kind of a general all-around build that can deal with different stuff, Ling Roach is fine. And you're saying you prefer roaches over banes because banes are hard to micro. I think that's fine as well. You don't need to force yourself into some style just because certain people do it. But for the roach play, if you want to go roach Ling, having one evo chamber fairly early and then going for carapace upgrades is really nice because that helps both your roaches be more sturdy and your lings as well. So you can just spend your gas into roaches and your minerals into lings with carapace and roach speed and ling speed, and you'll be in really good shape.
Okay, now I just got wrecked.
Yeah. So one of the key pieces you can put in the game, and I'll call this kind of a criteria for moral victory for you, is 4 queens on a hotkey. I see you have 2 queens on a hotkey, which is great.
Yeah.
Having 4 would be even better, and that would allow you to put a lot of pressure on these medivacs. So you went for a counterattack here, which is an option. I think you felt like you didn't have a way to kill the medivacs, so you just decided to attack their base instead.
Yeah, well, I don't remember what I thought at that point, but I see now I have 2 queens idling in the creep spread, but...
Yeah. So one thing that would be good to practice, we could practice it now if you want to, where you go to a point in the game where you have some queens, and you just attack move your army, select your queens, and then right-click the medivacs. So if you want to scrub back in the replay, maybe go to around 7 minutes in. Pause the game. Actually, go to 6 minutes.
Okay. Oops. Okay.
Yeah, this is good. Okay, so pause it.
Alright.
And then there's...
You want me to take control? Or?
Yeah. So take control, I'll be the Terran, you'll be the Zerg. And just for practice here, get every single queen you have 4 of them. Put them on your hotkey, 4, and then get your Ling Roach to work with them. And I'm going to attack you with the 2 Medivac Marine, and you're going to just attack move with your ground, and then select the queens, and right-click the Medivac.
Okay.
So whenever you're ready.
How do I do that?
There's a little arrow button below the time.
Oops.
And then you set me as Outburst.
Outburst. Alright. And so do I take the queens that are injecting as well? Or?
Yeah, just for now. For the build that I've typed out for you, you'll have more than this. But yeah, for this purpose, just grab all 4 of them. So tell me when you're ready, and then I'll go in.
I am.
Okay. So, So the queens are on the medivacs. Roaches are attacking where you're... Did the Ling start with that? Nice. You got the medevac.
Yeah.
So you're a lot stronger with the queens. Transfusing each other, they get a lot of HP. So keep making units and stuff. Yeah, that's basically the idea. You represent your army, and then you have the queens focus the medevacs. Those queens. Nice. So queens right-click the medevac, and your ground army just attack moves, basically.
Yeah, but I feel I kind of sacrificed a lot of Zerglings in that attack.
Well, that's one thing that'll come with practice. The most important thing is to represent your stuff on the field. Micro is something that I think is best to focus on when you're kind of moving from Diamond toward GM. Like in that range, the minute details of how to put units and like adjust them on the fly is really important. But at this stage, it's more about making more stuff and then bringing it to the field whenever the fight is happening and knowing what they need to focus on. So the queens focus the air, and queens are really strong. There's a clip from In Control where he's kind of joking about Zerg and how they just like spam out a bunch of units. 4 queens he references in the clip, and how it defends Warp Prism, it defends Oracles, it can tank for ground attacks, it can attack medevacs. 4 queens is a really important kind of core piece to put into a macro game as a Zerg, if you plan to macro and try and have a bunch of things over time. So having the 3rd base earlier would mean that you could have more than that even. Against Terran, you could go up to, say, 7 to 10 queens on a hotkey, and there isn't really a downside.
Against Terran, that is?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And I haven't really checked, but do Marauders shred queens as well, or?
Not really. Queens are really hard to kill in general. Marauders are lower DPS against them than Marines are. So okay. I think just bringing the queens, if there's a fight, is generally better than being afraid to use them. They have tons of HP. It's 175 HP per queen.
Right. One of the things, though, with queens I find hard is, when I build a lot of them, and now I feel like this makes me on like a back foot player, because I can't really push without my queens. And if I don't creep spread enough, well, my queens are too slow for me to bring them on the fight.
Mm-hmm.
And now I kind of doubt of my army without my queens, and and I think that's when I give economically to my opponent, because I let him do whatever he wants, basically.
Mm-hmm. Well, one skill you could think about in StarCraft is, if both players are left to their respective side of the map, who's going to power up faster? Usually one player is going to be a little bit better at that than the other one. So if you're falling behind, then either you can figure out timings to learn where you're the front foot player, or if you're going to be the back foot player, getting really good at hitting 200 supply faster than them so that they can't keep up with you. There are a lot of scenarios where I'll play against someone on the ladder, and I know that if they don't do something about it, I'm going to get to some critical mass of army, and they're not going to be able to stop me. So you can take that approach as well. If you're making lots of queens, that means that you have a really safe transition into hive tech. And once you have hive tech like Ultralisk, Broodlord, maybe some Vipers, then your queens can support those units, and then they can go across the map. So there are a couple different compositions you could use in the mid game if you're kind of lost about what to make. So let's say here's some 200 supply max outs you could go for. Ling, Roach, Ravager with Carapace upgrades, +1 and +2. That would be really solid, and then you have some queens for support. You could also go Hydra, Ling Bane. That's another really solid max out. And you can go like melee 1 and 2. We'll say range 1, Carapace 1, and 2, 2, 2. Those two, I would say, are probably the most sturdy and versatile, where it doesn't really depend on what the opponent is going for. Those can be pretty tough. It just makes you really hard to kill if you have those things. And then once you're making those units, you drop Infestation Pit into Hive, into Ultra Cavern, or Greater Spire.
Right.
And that's kind of the solid progression. I feel like
I've never been able to build those high tier units like the Lurkers or the Broodlords. Like I keep dying before that. So
yeah.
That's one thing I may work on. And about the queens, as you saw, I have like tons of floating minerals. Would you, in my league, think about making maybe a macro hatch and create more queens or something like that? Or is that not a good thing to do?
No, I think that's good. I think with the earlier third base, that's going to be less of a problem straight away. So if you start taking your third base at around 3 minutes 30, then you'll have a lot more larvae than you normally would early on. And you also have another location where you can make queens constantly. So at that third base, you can have 150 minerals at a time making queens, and then you have the larva income there, and then the injected larva income at the third base. But taking a macro hash is something that is totally fine to do. Usually it's better to make that decision fast. So if you look at your money and it's over 450, you could either take a new base or you could take a macro hatch. Either one is fine. But usually you would want to always take the third base before the macro hatch. Sometimes you could take the macro hatch before the fourth base, depending on if they're attacking you a bunch.
Okay. Because so far in this league, there are so many all-ins. I felt like every time I tried to take a third, it wasn't a good decision.
Yeah.
So,
well, one of the things about the timing of the third base is if you take it early, it drops its creep around, and then you can lay a tumor, and then you get a bunch of creep presence outside the base. So it actually becomes harder to take a third base later if they're going to hit you with a timing and you're just now trying to send a drone, or the base is being built and you don't have as much creep around it. Creep gives you lots of vision and it gives you mobility, which means it's going to be easier to defend a base that has lots of creep at it. So if you're wondering, what should I do with my queens? Having your queen group at your newest base is usually a really good rule to follow.
Gotcha. Okay. Did you wanna watch another replay or?
Sure. We could do another Terran one, yeah.
Terran one, okay. So this one, what did you want me to do first? Right click or something?
No, watch with others so you load into the lobby, and then once we're in the lobby, you right click me and then promote to leader.
Okay. Oh shit. Okay, I needed to start the replay first, right?
Yeah, so I'll give you a lead back.
Holy shit.
Huh?
So you need to accept first, I guess?
Okay. Yeah, you gave me the leader now. Let's go.
Oh, okay.
Sweet.
So this one is a replay from maybe 1 hour ago.
Well, the 13 Overlord generally is more optimal than 14.
Okay.
Got it in the notes. Hatch gas pool.
So yeah, that's one of the things I experimented with. The 13 Overlord versus 14. I haven't felt much difference between the two, but
yeah,
tell me.
It's a pretty small difference. I think 13 Overlord is a little bit more smooth. It was one of the things that they were evaluating a lot when Legacy of the Void first came out, and they changed from 6 worker start to 12 worker start. It's like, what is the optimal Zerg opening now? So 13 Overlord, 19 Overlord is the most standard. Ling speed needs to be as on time as it can be. That means you can take the third, like we were saying, against Reaper. And you're against a 1-base build this game. Wow.
Yeah, I think I didn't take the Ling speed. I forgot about it.
That first Overlord, you can put it here. Most maps have a little high ground pedestal where you can put an Overlord.
I didn't know where the high ground was. Is it like the pillar thing here?
Yeah.
Okay. And then...
Because with it there, you'll see the Marauders and Marines coming out.
Okay. And I tend to take this Overlord in around 4 minutes, go scout their base and sacrifice it. Maybe. I don't know if that's a good strategy or not. But...
Yeah, 4-minute scout is good. Okay. Usually I hit 3:35 scout, but if you scouted at 4 minutes for your league, that would be probably about equivalent. Because they're not going to be doing the builds as fast as GM players, thankfully.
So yeah, so that's where... So I spotted this is a 1-base thing. So I masked Roaches and Lings.
One good benchmark for understanding economy is gas timings. So for Zerg, we tend to have to kill a drone to be able to make a structure. So if we make an extractor, we kill a drone. So the timing of the gases matters a whole bunch for how much we want to grow our economy. So I said before, you're taking your third at around 3 minutes 30. You take your second gas when you have 2 base mineral. So you have 16 out of 16 in the main on minerals, and then whenever you hit 16 at the natural, then you take your second gas. So you're droning your bases for minerals, and then you take your second gas. Second gas at 2 base mineral, and then 2 more gas at 50 drones. That's something that I would say will help you have a better sense of how to optimally grow your economy. A lot of players will kind of injure themselves by taking their gas too early in a way that they don't really have a good quality unit to spend that gas on. So 2 gases, you can make some Roachling Ravager, like the composition you're going for, but you need a lot of minerals too. And if you had the third base, you could be making 50% more Roachling just by the larva. So that'll be something that I think is going to help you a whole bunch. Because it feels like it's going to be hard to defend this, because you've been making units off of 2 bases of larva, but if you took your base at 330, it would be done by now, and you could be making Roachling off of 3 bases of larva, and queens too.
Right. I thought the push was gonna come faster, honestly, but...
Yeah, it should have. They kind of did a 1 base all in to defend a 2nd base.
Oh, and I took the wrong 3rd base. I guess. I'm not too used to...
I would say at this level it's not that big of a deal.
Okay.
Worrying about which base to take. As long as it's next to your other base, it's probably fine.
So here comes the push. And I have 3 queens hot feed.
That's good. One thing that's nice to do as well is to make some Ravagers. A good thing about Roaches is if you're banking a lot of money, you can morph a bunch of Ravagers to burn through your gas bank. So if we look at your bank right now, if you had that third earlier, that could have been spent. And if you imagine all of that value in Roachling Ravager, you would just smash this attack like it was nothing. So that's kind of the secret to stopping a lot of these attacks is the earlier third base means that your bank will be spent, which means that when this attack gets here at 7 minutes, you'll have more than double your army, and it'll be super strong. Ravagers are really good too in that they have faster attack speed than Roaches, so you're increasing your army's DPS, and they have longer range than Roaches. So on top of that, they have their Corrosive Bile ability, which does a lot of damage and can force the opponent to move, or they take a bunch of damage. But Ravagers are quite good as units. So it's a nice way to improve a Roachling composition. Production, making Lings, taking Burrow. A lot of times Zerg will get stuck into a situation where they have to make the suboptimal unit against an opponent's attack. So if we think about this attack, this is a Marauder tank attack with a couple Marines, and you're making Lings. I would guess that's because you're thinking, those units counter Roaches, so I shouldn't make Roaches. Yeah. This is a kind of a sad thing, or it's a necessary evil with Zerg, where if someone is all-inning you, a lot of times they force you to make a suboptimal unit, but you still should, because it spends your bank the best.
Okay.
So if you look at your bank, you have quite a lot of minerals and a decent bit of gas. Roaches spend 75 minerals, 25 gas for every larva, whereas Lings are just 50 minerals per larva. So it's a lot harder to eat through that bank with your larva with Lings than it is with Roaches. So you'll be able to get more value on the field, even though those units aren't as optimal for fighting that army by their type.
So yeah, that's one of the things. I always have a big bank, but I'm not spending anything, basically.
Sweet, so we're dead from here.
Yeah.
One thing we could do, if you're interested in that, would be we could be in a custom game and I could walk you through the build and just kind of explain that. Or we can go through replays. It's kind of up to how you want to spend the time slot.
Whatever you feel like.
Because I think that would probably help the most for giving you some confidence for what the build is and how it feels, as opposed to having to...
Finding, maybe we could go in the custom game and I could try to get that third base down ASAP.
Yeah, do you know how to load that?
The custom game?
Yeah, custom melee.
Yeah.
You could do whatever map, it doesn't matter which one. Yeah, sweet.
Oh shit, what the?
So, right click me and click make referee or spectator. Cool. And, AI? Yeah, you could add an AI.
Okay.
Put it at like medium or something.
Okay.
It doesn't need to be hard, but it's nice to be able to kill something. Okay, you can go. Sweet. So this is kind of the secret for a lot of people who are in the lower leagues. It's usually because their opening is just suboptimal and they kind of fall behind. And it's really hard to make magic happen when you're just behind. So a good build isn't necessarily something that's risky. A lot of times it's something that just allows you to progress in an efficient way toward your goal. So 13 Overlord, perfect. And then droning. One thing that...
I don't know where to send the second Overlord, though.
The second Overlord, send it over to the proxy to the left, and then up toward the main.
Okay.
And then make a drone again. Drone, drone, drone.
I am.
Well, droning is kind of like hitting the gas pedal for building speed and momentum. Send a drone down to the natural. Boom, base. And then drone. Make 2 of them.
No larva.
Send one of those eggs to the extractor.
And now gas?
Yep, take a gas and a pool. And then drone.
Now yeah. And I just rallied them to the gas, I suppose.
Yep. You can rally the third one to the gas as well. And then a 19 Overlord.
Okay. Where should I send this one?
This one just goes outside your second base. So you can see if they're going to attack you.
Here.
Yep.
Okay.
Change the rally point from the main base to the natural for your drones. Perfect. And keep droning. Okay, so now you're going to make 2 queens and 4 lings. and then go back to
Send
droning.
him down the ramp, I guess.
Yeah, onto the ramp.
Onto. Okay.
Ling speed.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're droning.
And now what do I do with those links?
These are just ready to defend the Reaper.
Okay.
Okay, so 32 supply, make an Overlord. Overlord.
Yeah, I have no larva.
And then drones. Take an Evo chamber.
Okay. Now I don't think there's any. Oh yeah, wall here.
And
Now
make
should I
2 more
be
queens.
making more queens? Yeah.
Yep. And then make another Overlord. Okay, now send the Lings over to the 3rd and a drone to take a 3rd base.
Oh.
So take a 3rd base and Carapace upgrade from your Evo. And then make another Overlord. Spread creep with your new queens. Perfect. Now take a Roach Warren and a Lair.
Now do I keep droning here?
Make an Overlord first and then drone.
Okay. Now I'm sending my Overlords pretty much anywhere, but now do
Yeah.
I make more queens?
Make another Overlord. And then now you just hit 16 workers at the natural. Take 2 more gas.
Okay. And should I take it in my main or in my natural?
Doesn't really matter.
Okay.
So drones with all your larvae. Send the queens to your 3rd so they can inject it when it's done. And make 2 Overlords. Okay, make drones. And fill the gases. Inject the 3rd base. You can make queens from all your bases. And get Roach speed.
Should I be making roaches right now, or?
Sure. Yeah, you saw some army from the enemy. You can make a round of roaches. And then make another 5 Overlords.
5 Overlords?
5. Roaches take up a lot of supply. It's one of the surprising things about roaches. That's one of the downsides. So take armor 2 from your Evo chamber.
Yeah.
And then set the rally point of your bases to your 3rd.
Okay.
Now make roaches until you run out of gas, and then Zerglings.
Okay.
Sweet. So you have your 3 queens on a hotkey. You have your Roach Ling.
Yeah.
Make another 5 Overlords.
Okay. Now I just rally my Overlords with main rent, but
Yeah, Overlord placement isn't a super important thing to focus on at the moment.
okay.
You could drone your 3rd all the way now. So just spend all your larvae into drones at the 3rd. You can make a few Ravagers too. Make like 4 or 5 from your Roaches. Okay, and then make Roaches. You could take 2 gases at your 3rd and a macro hatch.
Where should I put a macro hatch?
Doesn't matter. You could put it at the 3rd. You could put it in the main.
Okay.
You have a big army, so it's not like you're scared to take bases.
Right. And now, should I take a fort, maybe?
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Where is... I guess here?
Yep. So you take the 4th, fill the gases at the 3rd, and then drone the 3rd some more. So you're droning the 3rd, filling the gases at it. And then make another 5 Overlords, and then make all Roaches. And then make Lings, whenever you have larvae. Make sure your macro hatch is hotkeyed, and your 4th base.
Oh yeah.
Make all Roaches. So transfer about 8 of the workers from your main to your 4th, because it's starting to mine out.
And now?
Yep.
Okay.
Make all Roaches and take range attack +1 from your Evo.
Okay.
Make Roaches.
Holy shit, I have never noticed how often I can produce units.
Yeah, you're at 200 supply. Go kick ass.
Oh, holy shit.
Go kill him. Grab everything. Holy shit, you have so much stuff. Okay, while you're attacking, just go. Just go, you're not scared. So attack and make Roaches. Okay, go scoot up. Get to the high ground. It's a Zerg attack. So many bugs. Go in. Fuck them up. Holy shit. What is Terran supposed to do against this? That's ridiculous. Scoot in so all your stuff is firing. Go up to the main too. Oh my goodness. Go, go, get to the main. Everyone go up the ramp. We're all jammed up, it's a traffic jam. Okay, go, go. Get all the way up there so they can all shoot. There we go. Okay, do some corrosive biles. Okay, go inject your bases. Inject. Build a Hydra Den. Hydra Den.
Oh.
Oh, they're giving up, noobs. Nice.
Alright. Well, 4K
Yeah.
mineral still, but it's not like a good mix or units.
Yeah, this is really the essence of Zerg. It's being able to make tons of shit. And it doesn't need to be fancy. It doesn't need to be a mysterious strategy. Basically, it's about getting your bases up, making a fuck ton of shit, and then punching their base in. That's kind of the stepwise process.
Right.
Chat saying, get wrecked, medium AI, you suck. Okay, so you could save that if you wanted to, just as a reference for a solid progression. If you do that every time, I would think you could do that in every matchup, and you would probably get platinum within like 40 or 50 games.
Okay.
Just by drilling that. Because that's one of the other aspects too, is you get a good plan, but then you have to practice it to the point where it's memorized, and then you can focus on adjusting to the opponent. Because they're going to be trying to throw you off your game.
Yeah. One of the things though I noticed that you told me to do but I wouldn't have done is the mass production of Overlords. I feel like I would have got supply blood way more times.
Yeah, I'll put that as a note actually. Say 5 Overlords at a time when Roach production begins. When you're making drones, you can make them 1 or 2 at a time, but when you're making army, you should make them like 4 to 6 at a time, depending on what kind of units you're making.
Alright.
So we could look at a Protoss or a Zerg game too if you want to.
Sure. Please. Right. So one of the things I noticed against Protoss is that I get wrecked by Colossus. Are you leader right now? No.
You're a leader. You gave me a party leader. You can keep party leader, I just need lobby host.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you have the party leader, and then once I'm in, you can right click me and give me lobby host.
Oh, that's... There you go.
Where is our coached friend from, EU or NA?
Australia. No. NA.
Pink, please. Okay.
Alright.
So they're random, and they were truthful about what race they got. It doesn't happen very often, but every once in a while you'll have someone who will say one race and then cheese you with a different one. Technically, it's a legal move. It's not very nice. So you could do the same build against Protoss as the one that we discussed with Terran. That would be pretty viable. Roach Ravager Ling is pretty good against Colossus. The main thing you might need to adjust to is if they went for Void Rays. You would want to make Hydras earlier. Hydras are quite good against Protoss. So instead of going Ling Roach Ravager, you could go Roach Hydra. And I would guess that you wouldn't have too much trouble. A couple notes about ZVP that are different from ZVT. I'll type this for you. Is First Adept arrives at 3:10 or so. They may be a little bit late on that. And one thing that's nice to have is 4 Lings with 1 Queen at the ramp. So you have your Queen down there, that's nice. The Queen can stand where the Creep Tumor is. And then the Lings can stand behind that. So if an Adept tries to shade up, you can block with the Queen and the 4 Zerglings. That's the first little mini game of ZVP that kind of decides who's going to fall ahead or fall behind or get ahead, kind of a thing.
You mean I can block the ramp with it?
Yeah. You can't block the shade, but if they want to go into your main, they would have to walk up the ramp and then shade into the main. So you can make that more difficult for them, basically. And then 4-minute spores will keep you safe against DT and Oracle and all the different kinds of Protoss shenanigans they can send at you.
Yeah, that's one of the things against Protoss. I don't know the timings spores, so you could take to write them down.
330 third base, same as against Terran. You could do the same build if you wanted to, or you go Evo Chamber, Carapace, Roach Warren. If that's your approach right now, I would think that that would be probably the best for working on your macro, is kind of building off of pieces you already understand and just how to do that better. And then once you get really good at that, then you could experiment with some other styles and whatnot. Another good little benchmark is making some Lings at around 430. It looks like you already did, so you're pretty well prepared for this. Against an Adept attack, you want to have all your Queens at the edge of your creep, and the Lings are behind. So it's the same thing as defending the first Adept with your Queen at the natural and the 4 Lings, but this is a bigger engagement with that. But you're using the pieces in the same formation. So right now, your Queens would be at the front, shooting the Adepts, and then the Lings can support them, or chase the shade if they try to shade in.
So even my injecting Queens should go to the fight?
Yeah. One thing that's really nice is just having all your queens on a hotkey. And if you get into an oh shit situation like this where they have a big attack, is you just bring all your queens and you make queens from your bases. So we'll say the oh shit response.
Yeah, so initially I was hotkeying all my queens, but I was also using the spacebar injecting method, and I noticed that my queens were running around for no reason, basically. I think I was trying to inject with a queen without energy, and I was missing injects because of that. So I stopped hotkeying my injecting queens, and just hotkeying the creep spreading queens. But maybe I should consider hotkeying them again.
If you had made queens more, then you probably could still leave some, and it would be fine. So I think with the adjusted build, you'll have more stuff to deal with the same attack than you do in this scenario. But the queens at the front, the lings in the back, and then making units through the engagement is really key. That's a big part of how certain players can extend a lead or fall behind as well, which is, as the fight is happening, who's making more stuff. A lot of people will freeze up and they won't make anything and then fall behind even if their attack is semi-successful. And that third base will help you spend the minerals. You can take a fourth base pretty early against Protoss.
Would you like, if I see myself with 19k minerals, would you double expand, or is it something too risky?
Oh, double expand is fine.
Okay.
Taking a base is a pretty low risk choice. A lot of people feel like it's dangerous or they get attacked sometimes, so they're afraid to take it. I think of it as you're just commanding more of the map, and it's like a pay to remove problem for the opponent. By taking an expansion, you increase your potential production and your potential economy, and the opponent has to invest a lot to kill that. This is 1,500 HP of Zerg shit in the game. They would need to bring their army over there to go kill it, which takes them time, and they have to have a lot of units to deal with that.
Man, it's so painful to see 3k minerals floating here.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, with the earlier third base, that'll be resolved somewhat, and then you can take the macro hatch in the fourth base kind of at the same time. That's usually a pretty common step. Making more queens will help too.
Am I creating? No. Oh yeah, one.
And injecting the third will help you a lot as well. So whenever it's about to finish, just throwing an inject on it means you'll have tons of stuff. You can make more lings too. So for some general Zerg unit properties, Roaches are very efficient for how much health you get and armor for their cost, but they are very supply hungry. You have to have a lot of Overlords to be able to keep making Roaches.
Yeah.
And Zerglings are really fast and effective for their mineral cost, but they're very larva hungry. So you need really good injects and lots of bases to make lots of Zerglings. Those are kind of the upsides and downsides of those units.
Right.
Ravagers
so
are...
position here are the things I struggle with. The Stalker, Immortal, salad thing. I feel like I can't make any roaches to be.
You
My
can still...
roaches are gonna get destroyed by Stalkers and Immortals, but.
Yeah, what the thing with Ling Roach Ravager is the Lings are the damage buffer, where the Lings run in first, and if both players A move, they're going to focus down the opponent's front line first, which means these Immortals are going to be shooting Lings until all the Lings are dead, and then they'll shoot the Roaches. So it still comes down to just who can make more stuff. Because looking at the supply right now, it's 136 to 130. If your third base was early and you had 3k minerals of Lings, you would just run this over. Kind of like the army you had in the game we practiced the build. So it's less about what do I do against Immortals, what do I do against Colossi. How do I represent tons of shit on the field? Because that's going to be super hard for them to deal with. You're fast, too. So your army is faster. You could rush in, maybe kill a bunch of probes here, and then leave. You're not committed to fight them either.
Yeah. And now they're even ahead in the economy, so...
So Roach, Ling, Ravager is a nice max out. You could also go Roach, Hydra. Say 200 supply max outs. The most straightforward and effective in-game composition for Zerg against Protoss is probably Broodlord Hydra. It's not super hard to use, and it's good against both ground and air. And that would be around like 7 to 10 broods. Rest Hydra. You can bring queens too. It's a good composition. Roach Hydra's good. Hydra Ling Bane is good. Hydra Ling Bane is kind of hard to use because it's fragile. Roach Ling Ravager is a lot more sturdy. Like, that was a good move. You run in, knock out a base, and then get the heck out. Good call. If you're in the mood to be kind of fancy, you could also send Lings into their natural. One of the most decisive ways to kill a Protoss, if you feel like you can't beat their army directly, is pretend to attack. So if you had your Roach Ravager right here, and you're like, hey, oh my god, I'm going to attack you. They'll get excited because they think, I can beat that army. So they'll chase you. And then you could send, how many Lings do you have? 65 Lings. Imagine 65 Lings right here. They're having a very bad time. So that's another option
one of the
too.
things I'm trying to practice to split my armies, but I'm having a hard time to do it.
Do you know about the steal command in the game?
Yes, I know about it, but one I wanted to ask you, which was a bit more technical, was the how is there a way to remove units from a group without using the steal command? Like,
Yes. So that's Control-Shift-Click. So an example where that happens is you have an army, and then you have a bunch of larvae that are in the group, but you don't want them in the group because maybe you want to make drones, or you have a bunch of extra overlords or drones in a group. Down in the command card in the center, you just hover over that and then hold down Control and Shift and click, and that'll remove all units of a given type. So if you have 10 larvae in your group, Control, Shift, click, they're all gone, and then Control and then remake your group.
oh, okay, yeah, you remake the group.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Say unit management. I'll put that at the top just so we don't forget.
Wow, 5K minerals.
Yep. It is rarely a mysterious technique which drives us to the top, but rather profound mastery of what may well be a basic skill set. It's a quote from Art of Learning that I feel like pertains very well to StarCraft as well. We're basically dead here.
Like,
RIP.
Yeah. But see, I have 5K minerals, and I feel like I could be remaxing, but with Zerglings. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I've replaced all of my add and create hotkeys with the steel versions. If you want to try that, I think there's basically no downside to it. It's not guaranteed, or it's not required, but something to consider.
Yeah, I'll try that. Okay.
So we could look
Do
at.
we have time for something else, or?
Well, it's around the hour, but if you wanted to do a ZBZ as well, just to get a glance at it, then we could give you a couple notes.
Yeah.
Your Patreon, so I
So-
can be kind of generous here.
All right. Thanks. Let's see. So one of the things in ZVZ, I think I have a good percentage of wins, but I feel like I can either cheese, which can go, it's like a 50-50, but lately I've been trying to expand more and get ahead in the economy. But so I've been working on dealing with the early aggressions. From and I've been struggling to keep my economy going, even though I'm winning still. And one of the reasons I win still is because I think, ZVZ at that level, I feel like it's who gets mutas first.
I think part of the reason for that is mutas are really hard to defend against. They're easier to use than they are to fight, basically.
Yeah. So most of the time, well, in my latest wins. Oh wait, did I win this one? Yeah, I don't think I lost any ZVZ lately, so it's probably a win. But I still wanted to show you something that one. So you'll see in that game, I go with mutas after getting harassed and everything, but I feel like I could have been better at some point in the game.
So for the early game, do you prefer Ling Bane or Ling Roach?
I really hate Banes, as I said, because of the micro things, but maybe in ZVZ, Banes are not too bad because I don't get attacked by ranged attacks. But I tend to prefer Roaches.
Okay. Well, a really nice build for ZVZ that I think is quite strong and I think would give you a good sense of how to be active on the map early on is to make some Lings whenever you're at around 33 supply. So the most important thing with ZVZ is who can get the third hatch, because like we're saying with other matchups, that means you have more production. So if you can get this base at around 3 minutes and then make some Lings, then you can defend that base, which means when it finishes you have 50% more production of whatever unit you're trying to make. So if it's muta versus muta, you can make more mutas because you have 3 bases to their 2. If you're going Ling Bane, you can make more Ling Bane. If you're going Roaches, you can make more Roaches. So a lot of ZVZ is about the 2 players fighting over who gets to take the third base earlier. So the basic build, 13 Overlord, 19 Overlord, going... You can go hatch gas pool. I don't think it's required. If you're more comfortable going pool first, that's fine. So I think you went pool first, so let's say 17 gas, 17 pool, 18 hatch, 19 Overlord. I'll say 20 Overlord for that build.
I usually don't go pool first, but I try to change a bit my strategy here because I know in this bracket people tend to go 13 gas and try to rush in with Ling. So I just wanted to get queens early and some defense.
Well, with a hatch first opening, it's pretty straightforward to defend 13 pool if you have your first 2 queens and you put them at the ramp after they inject. So you inject with both, put them at the ramp, and then you have 6 Lings instead of 4, and you're pretty safe against most cheeses. You would need to be playing a very exceptional player for them to be able to bust that. So hatch first is totally fine, and then you go for the 6 Lings, Ling speed, and then 31, third base. It seems early, but you get 6 supply from it, so it's like an Overlord. And you also spend your money. Notice your money right now. You can afford it. And then that also means you increase your production, and it's a big target for your opponent to kill.
Okay.
So if you want to spend your gas, you have your Ling speed first, and then going for something like a maybe Roach Warren right after you take your third. I think you'd be pretty safe. So let's say Roach Warren at 330. Oh no, say 320. that should be fine. And then 33 supply, 2 Overlords. Make 16 Lings to harass / defend. And then if you want to, you could make Roaches an attack, or you could just use it for safety in case you need to make them to defend. And then go Lair, say Evo Chamber, plus Lair, +1 ranged, Roach speed. And then at 2 base mineral, take 2 gas, and Roaches. That's basically how you macro up into a Roach game in CVC if you're skipping Banes. So they're going for this attack now. If you had made Lings, like when I said, you would have 16 Lings right now, and you could just pounce on top of this, and they can't morph them, because you'll kill everything before it's done. So a big part of having a clean ZVC early game is having some units active on the map to deny this kind of stuff, where they just morph a bunch of units in your face. And
I guess I should have moved a couple of Overlords here, though.
Yeah, that's where the 19 Overlord goes. I'll actually add that. 19 Overlord outside your natural. And then the 33 2 Overlords go outside your third. Those are the most important ones, so you can see units coming in. And if you made your Roach Warren at 320, then you would be able to be making Roaches already with your money. But remember, if you're going to make Roaches, you need to make like 3 to 5 Overlords.
Yeah.
They're very supply hungry. You're droning like a boss, though. Nice. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, a huge attack.
So this is where, in a higher level, I would have lost.
You win this game?
I think I do. So...
I can almost hear the Rocky theme being played. You made 9 Roaches. Usually you would send them, but yeah, there you go. Go, go, go.
If we had the Rocky theme right now, I would Danger Zone video you made.
Oh yeah.
That would make me proud.
I went to the danger zone.
So like I saw you went heavy Baneling, so I just kept going Roaches. And then I made a single Ravager.
Yeah, Ravagers are nice for killing the spines. That's part of why spines are bad in ZVZ now, is because Ravagers are a hard counter to them. They can drop the bile out of range of the spine. Yeah, taking the third base at a early time is going to be huge for your progress in all 3 matchups. You're just going to have way more stuff.
And I'm going to have less mineral float again.
Yep.
This is painful to watch. Jesus. Oh.
That's okay. Next time, you'll have your third base a lot earlier. You'll have a lot more stuff. If you go on a huge winning streak, I guess you can thank me later, but that's kind of the essence of what you need to focus on right now is that third base, and you're going to have 2 to 3 times bigger army. Oh, you have mutas, and the opponent has no idea what to do against mutas. God damn mutas.
That's what I said when I thought it was a race for mutas. But then I lose them all.
ZVZ used to be muta versus muta every game, but then they buffed
But he has
spores.
1 drone remaining. That's great.
Yep, heart of the champion. Never give up. Got him. All right. Well done. So cool. I got a build. Huh?
So that third is the main point I guess I need to work on.
The third base, if we want to boil it down to a couple things, getting your third base on time is the most important thing. Having 4 queens on a hotkey for ZVT and ZVP is going to be huge for you. And then, yeah, basically just getting to 200 supply as fast as you can by saturating your bases and making Overlords and tons of Roach Ling Ravager. You should be able to run pretty much everyone in Silver League over. So if there are any Silver League people who are watching this coaching session and you're thinking about laddering, maybe just take a break for a little bit. It's going to be scary. Well, cool. Thanks for working with you. Thanks for supporting through the Patreon. I'll send you these notes. It's via email.
Thanks to you.
Mm-hmm.
It was very instructive. All right.
Sweet. Keep it real, dude. Good luck. Have fun in your games.
All right. Thanks. And thanks for the stream, by the way.
Mm-hmm. GG. Nice. That was good. So a lot of people I've seen who are like content creators or streamers, they'll have a minimum league requirement for coaching. I don't really think that's great. Or at least I have fun coaching bronze, silver, gold, whatever. Because a lot of times the person you're coaching is a competent gamer. They understand how to play video games. They can use their keyboard and their mouse. But they don't really have a sense of what to focus on in their games. So just kind of giving them a sense of direction is pretty fun. You hear your voice, you'll skip a bit. Is there a delay?